Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.
Good Monday morning. Welcome to Run It Back here on FanDuel TV. Look at us all up early, ready to go. Introductions, of course. Stadium Insider Charania, Chandler P, Lou Will on the end. My name's Michelle. And we got some milestone we got to talk about, you guys. You ready? There we go. LeBron with the 40,000 points. It happened with 10:39 left in the second quarter, a driving layup. Oh, I think I had layup. Against the Nuggets on Saturday, finished with 26 points. His scoring total is now at 40-0-1-7 on the 62nd anniversary of Wilt's 100-point game. Lou, will anybody ever break it?
You know what? I don't think so. 40,000 is a ton, and have 10,000 rebounds and 10,000 assists to go along with that. But at the same time, I never thought anybody would break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. So it's going to take somebody who's really special, with a lot of longevity, who takes care of their body, who cares about their career, to put 20-plus years in for them to even have an opportunity to do this. This is an amazing record, a tremendous milestone. He's one of one at this point. I don't see anybody else breaking it, but like I said, I didn't see anybody breaking Kareem's either. So much love and respect to LeBron for going to put 40,000 on the board.
Yeah, longevity is definitely going to be key here, although I feel like once records get broken, things become seemingly easier and easier as the next generation comes and goes. But Shams, your biggest takeaway from this?
Longevity for sure, but even beyond the points, that's not what I consider LeBron James to be known for, is the points. I think that's come through longevity, come through the fact that he's in his 21st season, 39 years old. He's got probably 2-3 years potentially left if he wants to play, even that much. If he wants to go to 42, 43 years old, he could probably be the one to do it. But another stat that to me speaks more to what LeBron James is he's the only player in NBA history to have 40,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 10,000 rebounds. We know he's been able to do everything. That's been really the hallmark of his career, is being able to pass. And it's funny that he's now the league leader in points, and he's the only player to reach the 40,000 plateau, because early in his career it was about him passing out early, passing out of plays, especially down the stretch of games, and being over passive. And now he's going to virtually lead, be the guy that's going to be known as the scoring leader for the foreseeable future. Maybe one day it's broken, but I agree with Lou. I just don't see it. Not right now.
Visualize it, guys. Visualize it. Could happen. If there's a current player, if you look at the list of guys that are in the league, guys that are coming up, is there anyone, Chandler, that maybe could do it? I don't know. Look at Luka, KD. KD's actively is, I think, 12,000 points behind at this point. So it seems daunting. Wemby, anyone?
I mean, sure. Could we throw out young guys that are really good right now? But it's so impossible to predict, just because of what the guys just touched on. The longevity that this guy's shown, how many years he's played, how many years he's been good. Look at guys like Dirk and our guy Vince. They've played a really long time, but they peaked and then they started declining. We haven't seen him slow down yet. So the fact that he's been doing this, to me, obviously for that long, is the most impressive. Because guys have played just as long, but they usually aren't very good. This guy is still unbelievable. He's still healthy. Like Sean just said, he's probably going to play 2 or 3 more years. So I don't think we'll ever see it again. Sure, you could throw out Wemby or Edwards, or it's not even fair. It's not even smart to do, because this guy's career is so historic, and I don't see anybody touching this record. Because it's so hard to stay healthy. It's so hard to be that productive for that long. So I think it's time we just embrace this guy, give him his flowers, because the dude's been in the spotlight since he was 16 years old, and he's always thrived. He's never really messed up or made a big mistake, and he just continues to dominate. So he's unbelievable, and this is a crazy record that I never thought would be touched, and he's going to keep going. He's going to get a couple thousand more here, because he's showing no signs of slowing down.
Anybody in your target, Lou, that you maybe could see doing it?
Absolutely not. If anything, I would have thought KD was going to be the guy. To hear that he's 12,000 away, and KD's 34, 35, with a couple major injuries under his belt, that's at least 6-7 more years worth of work. We're talking about averaging close to 25 points a game for another 5 or 6 years. Very, very much possible, but very much impossible at the same time. I don't see anybody getting close to it.
I mean, look, LeBron's been for the last 5 seasons averaging about 1,500 points. If he's at just over 40,000 now, he could finish what, like 44,000? Is that crazy?
Yeah, and you got to imagine at some point the minutes the production is going to go down, right? I don't think he's going to continue just to average 25, 26 points and then just retire. I think wherever situation he goes to next, whether that's in LA or to play with the Sun or wherever that may be, I think it's fair to say to get, 700 to 1,000 to 1,200 points, and I can see him playing 2 or 3 more years. So, yeah, I think he can finish in that 43 to 45,000 point range, which even then makes it sound even more impossible to get to. But you have to I can't imagine this level continue for the next 3 years. I think there's going to be some sort of drop off, but he's going to still score points.
I got 42. 42 is my number. I think that's a realistic number. If he plays a couple years and, even if he levels out a little bit for a couple years, he can put a couple more 1,000 on there. So I got 40. I got 42, and he'll probably put on another 3-4 more 100 assists and 3-4 more 100 rebounds to go along with it. He's going to put all of these things out of reach.
Like we're playing a video game where you accumulate.
The guy's got a triple-double in career stats. It's ridiculous. It's the points that it's the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. It's unbelievable what he's done.
Shams, right now, we're heading into the stretch run. I mean, we're really heading into the stretch run. Where do the Lakers stand on things?
I think internally there's belief in that locker room that talent-wise they have exactly what it takes to win, and whether it comes from execution, really a game within the margins on the edges, that's where you're seeing the Lakers falter down the stretch of these games, and particularly against the Clippers last week.
But I'm looking at my phone. I don't have any of them.
Who's Lou talking to? Who is Lou talking to right now? We don't have a mute button. Sorry, Shams. Go ahead.
I mean, I got nothing.
I got nothing. It's just distracting. You're talking about that they actually think they have the talent in there to make some waves. Internally,
the Lakers believe that talent-wise they have what it takes, and it's really a game within the edges, on the margins, and down the stretch of some of these games, particularly against the Clippers last week. What I heard is players were taking accountability. You saw leadership happen down the stretch of these games where players were taking it upon their own hands, on their own onus to call plays down the stretch of those games. The last 7-8 minutes of that Clippers game last week, that big win that they had, it was really the players dictating the play calls down the stretch of the games. And to me, that's a sign of building trust. But which players, which rotations does Darvin Ham rely on and trust down the stretch? That, to me, is the big question as we get down the stretch of this Lakers season.
We had a game this weekend. I don't even know how to talk about this one, but the Celtics defeat the Warriors 140-88. Third biggest win in team history. Third win this season by 50 or more points. Jaylen Brown with 29 on his 26th birthday. Tatum with the 27 points. And Steph Curry, by the way, didn't play the second half, season low 4. Steve Kerr said after the game that the 52-point loss did not concern him, Chandler. How is that possible?
Listen, coaches always say it's just one win. Don't get too high. It's just one loss. Don't get too low. And this doesn't take away from how well they've been playing. But this was an ass whooping, and this stings a lot more than a close loss. At least in a loss, you can compete. You can put yourself in position to win. You can execute. They didn't do any of that. Their effort was awful. Their energy was awful. They got dominated at both ends of the floor. So this does shine a little bit of a brighter light on a loss, especially of this magnitude, a 52-point loss. It just kind of puts things in perspective, I think, for the team and the coaches that look how far away we can be from a real contender like the Boston Celtics. But again, it is, as a coach, as an organization, you watch film, there's thousands of teaching moments from this game, I'm sure. And you don't panic, but you watch this and you learn from this and you come together as a team and you say, look, never again are we getting punked like this. This was embarrassing. It was a pathetic performance. So I disagree on the over concern. To lose is one thing. To get your ass kicked like this bad is a whole nother level.
I mean, the fact that we've had a few of these now where you have to get a calculator out to figure out how many points they just lost by is crazy to me, Lou. 52 points. What's the worst loss you guys can remember ever having? What about you, Lou?
55.
Okay.
55.
Okay.
Dallas Mavericks.
One up.
Yeah, yep. Dallas Mavericks beat us by 55, and this was the Clippers team. This was Kawhi. This was PG, and we got our ass kicked, you know. And so you don't really overreact to these type of wins, especially with how Golden State's been playing. You know, they probably just ran out of gas. They did great at their home stand, been playing really good basketball to put themselves in a better position than they've been in all season. Go out on the road and probably some of that fatigue caught up with them, and they just got, like I said, like Chandler said, they just got their ass kicked, and you don't really overreact. You know, Steph Curry didn't have his best day. He was dealing with a knee issue, probably shouldn't have played, but he tried to go out there and tough it out. And they paid the cost for it, and also they had some glitches on game planning as well, and they bit them in the butt. So, you know, you take your wins with your losses. This was a really big loss, and I'm sure they'll get over this one and get ready for the next game.
Before we get on to that strategy fail, Chandler, can you beat 55?
I don't think so. I mean, I've definitely been in some blowouts, no doubt. But a 50 ball, I don't. That's crazy. And again, it happens. It definitely happens. But you can't dwell on it. They're going to play again tonight or tomorrow, whenever the next game is. So you can't hang your head. But that film session the next day in a bad loss is brutal, because that film doesn't lie, and Kerr's just going to keep showing the effort and the execution and then the breakdowns that happened consistently every single possession, and they have to own it. There's nowhere else to look. They did it. It's going to be awful, but you got to move on and continue to play for something bigger.
So Lou mentioned the strategy, perhaps the one that did not work. The defensive strategy the Warriors implemented was basically leaving Jaylen Brown wide open, which then resulted in 19 of his 29 points in that first quarter. And it's not great. I mean, it's obviously a choice. And Lou, if you had to sort of judge the idea of even attempting to use this strategy, what'd you think?
I would just like to know who was the assistant coach that decided to recommend this to everybody else, and everybody in the room was like, yeah, let's try that. Listen, he gets a lot of point paints. He's a guy known to attack the paint, but to just leave him open and say he can't make open shots is flat out disrespectful, and they paid the cost for it. You paid the cost for a gimmicky plan, a gimmicky game plan strategy, and he made you pay. This is an all-star level guy. And yeah, this is crazy looking at these clips.
I mean, come on.
Well, this has never been an MO of Jaylen Brown's that he can't shoot, and he's not a knockdown shooter, and he can't make open shots. So I have no reason why they would even think that this was a strategy that was going to be successful.
Yeah, Lou has an interesting point, because assistant coach kind of get assigned each scout, right? So like this was definitely one of the assistant coach's game plan. I'm with Lou. Like, why him or why Tatum? Like anybody else besides those two guys, you know what I mean? And even I'm okay with maybe trying it. All right, go under pick and rolls, or start a center on Jaylen Brown, and if he gets free, fine. But once he's hitting 1 or 2 or 3 shots, you got to make an adjustment. This guy's an elite player. He's an all-star. He can knock down shots, and I love the pettiness of tweeting it back. It's hilarious to me that this is the guy they picked. He's the biggest contract in NBA history. Like, I don't know if that was the right move. Maybe Drew Holiday, maybe Derek White, maybe someone like that. Not the best, not one of the best two guys and the best duo in the NBA. Probably not smart.
I feel like once he hit 10 points,
you think this was like
reevaluate.
Do you think this is like a Phil Jackson Jedi mind trick that they would try to play just to see what would happen?
Yeah,
what is that?
I guess respected for trying. And I don't think anyone's ever done that. Guard him like that. They're guarding him like it's Josh Giddey. Did you see how they're guarding Josh Giddey last night too? How they're guarding him like they guard Draymond. Same
exact coverage.
But this guy can shoot.
Though.
This guy can shoot. So I didn't get it, but I mean, hey, I guess when you're fighting for the play-in, you're in the position they are. I guess they got to try everything.
I don't know. Shams, this
But
one's
how
I
funny
felt
is it that
kind of
he was
arrogant.
knocking down everything?
Like,
Everything.
He's wide open. He's not a scrub. It's a weird strategy. I'm not going to lie. Shams, you heard the guys. What was your biggest takeaway from this win for the Celtics?
As far as that strategy, it backfired big time. Clearly, the Warriors, I don't know if they felt like this was a scheduled loss. They were going to lose this game regardless, so they decided, to throw this gimmick in there. I had one person around the Celtics tell me they tried a lot of gimmicks early on. That was one of them, leaving Jaylen Brown open, and we just punched them in the mouth. And they never recovered. So clearly, it just backfired big time. And the biggest thing to me that stood out, the Celtics did this without Kristaps Porzingis, arguably their third best player, could be their second best player on any given night. The way he can perform on both ends of the floor. So the way KP has played this year, to be without him and still dominate this way, their third 50-point win of the season, 11 straight wins for the Celtics now. They're rolling. To me, obviously in the Eastern Conference, have to be the favorite.
It's almost like the Knicks beating the Cavs without Jalen Brunson. What a night. Let's talk Steph Curry, because the season started out with him just being what looked like it was headed for a bad place usage-wise. And now we hear he was listed questionable to play in this one. As you heard, he didn't play the second half. He only had the 4 points. He's got the knee injury. His shooting percentage is a little bit down the last 11 games. At some point, Lou, it can't just be him. Like, how does this end?
Listen, we got to start being honest, and we got to start realizing this is father time. You're talking about a four-time NBA champion who's played extended minutes, who's played extended seasons for over a decade now. That's a 35-year-old man that's trying to put a team on his back to put them in a position to get in this playoff race. And it's starting to show. Some of the fatigue is starting to show. Some of the knick-knack injuries are starting to show. This is a time in your career where these things are really part of everything that you're going throughout the course of a season, where you're just grinding it out. I don't want to overreact to it, but this might be something that turns into a little nag for him that may be an issue. But I think this is a one-over. I think he gets over this, even though it's been a little stretch where he's shooting under par and he's not shooting as well as we're used to him shoot. But I don't think this is a huge deal. But we might have to start considering it's around that time where guys' body starts to break down a little bit. And some of your percentages go down with it.
Yeah, if you're going to play 16 minutes, don't play him. This is a game that you're probably going to lose anyways. This is not a guy you can afford to go out there 70, 80% and further his injury. He's your only hope at even winning and competing in the play-in. So to me, with the struggles he's had lately, the shooting the 39% from the field, and that's not Steph Curry. It's not the Steph Curry we're used to. So clearly he's fatigued. Clearly he's got some bumps and bruises that need to heal. What is 16 minutes going to do? I guess they wanted to see him if he felt it out. If he got off to a hot start, then maybe keep riding him. But to me, just don't play him. It's one game that you're probably going to lose anyways with him. Shut him down.
Yeah, you're right. It does feel like maybe they were trial and erroring to see how bad it really is. The Celtics side of thing, though, that the streak is now at 11 that they've won in a row. And we're all saying it. Now Jaylen Brown is basically saying that they feel like it's their time, which I think interprets as anything less than a championship would be considered a failure, Chandler. Is that too extreme?
I mean, if there's one team to say that about this year, I would think it would be the Boston Celtics. I think me and Lou predicted them to be the champs before the season started. Does feel like it's their time. Feels like that's the best duo in the NBA. They added a guy like Drew Holiday and Porzingis, guys that have really been playing well. Said it all year long, it's the best starting five. Their depth has been so-so, but somehow they're getting production from it. So yeah, I do think at the end of the season, if they end up, don't reach the Eastern Conference Finals, or they lose, or they get, their ass kicked to the Nuggets in the NBA Finals, I do think that they're going to look at that like a failure. I think they're going to look at Missoula a little sideways and they can say, okay, we have the pieces, we have the team. What's the issue? And whether that's the coach or another trade or a G or whatever that's going to be. But this is the best team in the NBA. With that, there comes expectations of winning a championship. So that's the conclusion at the end of the season for them, for it to be a success, I think, a championship. But the NBA is deep. The NBA is deep this year. Their Western Conference is great. If they don't win the Eastern Conference, I think they got a real problem.
Yeah.
If they get to the finals and they lose to the Clippers and Nuggets and they compete, failure? No, but do they expect to win a championship? Hell yeah.
semi-failure. Just do a
And
semi-failure.
that's how I feel. Why put this pressure on? Why say this and put that pressure on you, right? Like, you're not the defending champion, even though you got there, but you're still not the favorite, even though you're the best team in the league right now and you're hot and you're smoking. We're still looking at the Western Conference, and we're putting more pressure on teams in the Western Conference. Like, we're talking about the Golden State Warriors every day. We're talking about the Lakers. We're talking about them getting in the play-in. That's where the real pressure is. We know that the Western Conference is deep. On the East side, we feel like it's Boston Celtics, big old gap, and everybody else. So why put these kind of expectations on you when, in reality, only your team has those expectations for you? Now, we do expect you guys to come out of the East, but we still feel like it's Denver's trophy to lose. So I don't know. I love the confidence. I just feel like if you're flying under the radar, continue to fly under the radar and make things happen that way.
I think they're manifesting, just trying to make it happen in existence. I don't hate it. We're gonna take a quick break right now. Come back, more games from last night. We had some big matchups out in the West. We'll talk about those next.
Run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back.
All right, Shams, we got some scoopage. Well, I don't know what happened to Shams. Are we being punked today by the tech guy?
There
All right.
is.
We got a lot of stuff to get to. Unless something changed, I think we're going to talk a little Devin Booker right here. But he injured his ankle on Saturday. Not what you want to see. And missed last night's game. Is this something we need to be worried about?
The Suns and Devin Booker are bracing for him to miss about 7 to 10 days with a right ankle sprain. He's going to have treatment over the next 1 to 2 days, really see where that ankle's at after that. But that absence, that puts the Suns obviously in a tough spot. This is a jam-packed Western Conference. All these teams are so tightly knit with each other. He suffered that ankle sprain on Saturday, looked tough. But you think about the last 2 months for Devin Booker, he's averaging almost 28 points per game. This is a Suns team that's 31-19 with him in the lineup and just 4-7 without him. We know he wants to play, but they're going to spend at least the next week or so, potentially more, without him in the lineup.
I mean, this is the part of the year where you're just sort of sitting on your hands as a fan, just worried. Speaking of Scotty Barnes with a fracture in his hand, how bad is that injury?
Just brutal. I mean, obviously he's been in the midst of a breakout year, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists this season. He's still figuring out what type of procedure, how he wants to move forward, what treatment he wants to move forward. But there's no question, Scotty Barnes will be out an extended period of time with this injury. We'll see if this costs him potentially most of the rest of the season. This is a Toronto team that's outside looking in the play-in race. So tough loss for them. And if he is out potentially most of the rest of the season, that probably shuts their case for a play-in spot.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Chandler, I'm going to go to you first. The Raptors are 12th in the East, and I want to make sure I get all this right. They're 3.5 games behind the Hawks for 10th, but they currently have the 7th in the draft standings. If their pick is outside the top 6, it goes to the Spurs. They're currently 3 games ahead of the Grizzlies, who are 6th. At this point, with this news, with Scotty Barnes, do you just call it a day, or do you try to make a push for a playoff spot?
I hope that hand heals, but not very quickly, because I want to lose every game out. I do not want to lose my pick. I damn sure don't want to give it to the Spurs, which is one of the brightest futures, in the league. So I don't think they're a contender with Scotty Barnes. Obviously, they've shifted everything to be around him. They trade Siakam, they trade OG, they made their moves, and now this is their guy going forward. There's no need to rush. This is not the year that they're going to compete. They're in a situation right now, kind of like Dallas last year, where their pick for the future is much more important than this year, winning some games to finish this season strong. If it's me, I know it's call it soft, call it whatever you want. I'm shutting them down, and I am not losing that pick going forward, because this team needs that. They need assets. They need picks. They need anything they can to kind of grow with Scotty Barnes for their future.
Called strategery, Chandler, and I'm fine with that. If that's what you think would work, I think we do that. A lot of injuries this weekend, Shams. You must have just been busy. So we got Russell Westbrook with a fracture in his left hand. Is that something we need to be worried about?
For sure. And Russell Westbrook's had these hand fractures in the past. It's usually sidelined him around 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Unsure yet how long this will be, but clearly it will be an extended period of time. And Bones Highland is someone to keep an eye on. He got back in the rotation after Russell Westbrook fractured his hand on Friday night. And I'm told the Clippers have braced Bones Highland to be ready to play in the rotation for at least the rest of this month. So that puts you at about the next 3.5 weeks with Bones Highland. Look for him potentially to be back in the starting in the rotation, I should say. But this is, of course, a tough loss for the Clippers. I've been to many Clippers games this year, this calendar year, when Russell Westbrook's been coming off the bench on their run here, 10-5-5. He's been a spark plug coming off the bench, so it's a difficult loss for them as we get into the stretch run.
So that's interesting for a couple reasons, Chandler. A, because just another big name that sort of blurbed on all of our phones this weekend when he got hurt. But secondly, the last time we talked about Bones Highland, he wasn't with the team, and we were trying to figure out what the problem was because he's such a young guy, and this seems to be a bad pattern. So what do you think about the idea that this could be his shot to do something?
Yeah, the NBA is funny, man. This is his opportunity, right? And I don't think you can just replace Russell Westbrook with what he brings to this team, with the tenacity he brings on both sides of the ball. It's not even necessarily his stats. Like he's averaging, 11, 5, and 4. That can get made up with the Norman Powells, with the Terrence Manns. And now you look at a guy like Bones Highlands, who's been in and out of the lineup, in and out of the team, not traveling with the team. So now this is his opportunity, where this is a career-defining moment for him, where he's going to get his number called. Guys like him and Amir Coffey, they're going to get more minutes than expected now. And with that comes the pressure and the expectations to perform. And the Clippers are thankful. This is why I love a deep team. This is why the Boston Celtics, the Nuggets, they kind of scare me. They lose a guy like that's a critical piece like Russell Westbrook. They don't have other guys on that bench that go 9, 10, 11 deep like the Clippers do. So this is a blessing for them that they have this sort of depth. But again, you can't just replace Russ with everything he brings, the energy, the defense, the tenacity. It's going to take a collective effort from those three guys in particular. And in Bones Highland, your number is being called. It's ready. This is it. You can either continue to do what you do and be kind of tagged as this player and end up in Europe possibly in a couple of years, or you can really take advantage of this and be a bona fide player on a bona fide team and help them win a championship this year. So it's a great opportunity for him. It's a great opportunity for Coffey, Mann, Norman Powell. They all have to pick up the slack for Westbrook while he's out, because he brings a lot to this team.
Can't let him down. Shams, before I let you go, it was fun seeing you have fun at the Loyola game the other night. You seem like the biggest man on campus. Was it awesome?
Rock star.
It was a blast. It was a blast. They had me interact with the fans. They gave me a nice courtside seat right across the bench. I was on my phone a lot the second half because there was always news. And like you said, Michelle, like on Friday night, we had the Scotty Barnes injury. We had Russell Westbrook. So I was kept busy, but it was fun being there, talk to the team afterward as well. So it was definitely a good time to be out there. Big upset for us, Michelle. We beat the 21 seed Dayton. It's March. It's March, baby. Let's go.
March is here. I love it. Shams, all right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Chandler, you stick around because we still got a couple games to look at. Clippers at T-Wolves, speaking of. They beat Minnesota. This one's close. This one's a crazy score. 89-88 final. Kawhi with 32. Norman Powell had a season-high 24 points. And Anthony Edwards with his 27. But they both shot under 40 from the field percent, that is. A low-scoring defensive game. Shock to the system at this point. But also, is that a good sign that the Clippers were able to win it this way?
You know what's funny is everyone's complaining about too many points, too many threes, the offense. This game sucked, and this was the exact opposite. This is usually the score after 3 quarters. The fact this is a 1985. 86, just bogged down, slow down, defensive gym here. And by the way, the team, they both got good looks. So I can't even say the defense was top notch. They missed shots. Like you said, they shot the ball, both teams under 40%, which is unheard of these days. The T-Wolves had 15 turnovers. The Clippers had 9. So it was just kind of a sloppy, bogged down game. So I think when you look at a game like this from a fan experience, this isn't entertainment. This isn't fun to watch. I think it's great for the Clippers that they can win a game like this when it gets ugly, when it's a half-court game, when James Harden goes 0 for 10 from the field. Like when was the last time that's happened? So I think it's a great kind of practice trial for like a physical playoff kind of intense game. And both of these teams hopefully make a deep run. But yeah, this is just an ugly dog fight that the Clippers were lucky to get the win, but shots were missed. Guys got open looks. Guys got, wide open threes. It's just one of those nights where there was a lid on the rim and nothing was going down. But for me, bring back the 130 to 125 score game. Much more entertaining.
It's crazy too, because I would think when the Clippers come to town, if you live in that area, that's kind of a good ticket. Like, you want to go watch the superstars come and play, and then you get a Harden and Paul George combined 19 points on 5 of 16 shooting. But they did win regardless, and Kawhi was the reason why. And yet, I don't know that I've heard one single mention of Kawhi Leonard even in the MVP conversation. Is there a reason for that other than he probably loves it?
Well, the only reason is that SGA and Jokic and these guys are just having insane seasons. I mean, when you look at Kawhi Leonard's numbers, 24 points a game, but it doesn't really move the needle now. And I think he's been healthy, he's consistent. It's great to have him back playing to the level he's playing for, because we haven't seen it in a long time. Like, I haven't seen him catch a lob like that finish. He looks strong. He's getting to his spots. But when you just look at these other guys, when you look at Luka Doncic's numbers, when you look at SGA, what he's doing at number 1 in the West now, Jokic putting up all these crazy triple doubles and these historic numbers, it's nothing against Kawhi Leonard. Another season without those guys, he could be, up higher in the hunt. And the fact that he did score 32 points of the 89 points or whatever was insane last night. He carried this team. He willed this team to a win. He's not going to win MVP. He should be first team All-NBA. But he's having a great season, and I'd love to see him build off this and do it again next year. Stay healthy for as long as you can, because the Clippers need you, the league needs you, and he's a hell of a player when he is fully healthy like this.
I wonder if, too, our standards for Kawhi Leonard are just slightly higher because we know what he does, and we're just, I don't know, taking him for granted somehow, it feels like. But the Timberwolves, on the other side of things, it's the two teams, Oklahoma City being the other, that we've sort of all fluctuated on whether or not we're buying in. But they're 15-12 in these clutch situations, which is 13th in this league, Chandler. And I would think if you're looking to make a big run playoff time, that ain't a good stat.
No, you want to be the opposite. You want to be a top closing team. You want to be a clutch team. And they have guys to do that. They have guys like Anthony Edwards. They have guys like Karl-Anthony Towns that can put their team on the back, whether they're slowing down the half-court offense or getting out in transition. They have a floor general, Mike Conley, that's been there before. So they do have the talent and the players to do that. It's just, for whatever it is, I think the other teams just have an edge because of the experience, and we just don't trust the Minnesota Timberwolves as much. And that's not taking away from anything that they've done this year. They've had a hell of a year. No one's expected them to be first, second, third, fourth in the Western Conference this year. So they've already exceeded expectations, and I don't think there's a lot of pressure on them, which is a good thing going in the postseason, because no one thinks they're going to beat the Nuggets. No one thinks they're going to beat the Clippers. No one thinks they're going to beat the Suns probably in a series, depending if they're healthy or not. But I think this team is in a great position. They're balanced. They can defend. I love the re-signing Mike Conley to a longer deal, because he's the head of that snake and he's just a great leader. So I do think they have the pieces. But yeah, when you look at that stat, that's concerning going into the postseason, because you want to have guys that can finish games and close games in the playoffs.
So with the Minnesota loss and the result of the next game, things shifted a little bit at the top of the West. Oklahoma City beating the Suns 118-110. And of course, now they're in that top spot. SGA, 35 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. It's his 45th 30-point game this season. Beal had 31, and Nurkic, 14 points, 31 rebounds, which broke a franchise record in most in a game in 14 years. Thunder go on the road beating the Suns, and somehow also overcome 31 rebounds from Nurkic. Welcome back, Lou. I'll go to you first. You've had a rest. What did you make of that?
I thought this young team played well, and it's the tale of two teams, right? So we talk about Minnesota being a young team, having issues in clutch situations, and that being a little concerning. I don't have this concern at all with this Oklahoma City Thunder team. They play well together. They move the ball. They play fast. They play at a great pace. And at the same time, they're able to execute in half-court offense. It looked like this young team got it really figured out, and they may be the real deal, and they're going to have to be a team that you got to deal with coming out of the West. So for Nurkic to have 31 rebounds and this team still outplayed him with a Kevin Durant on the floor, with a Brad Beal on the floor, and they just look like the better team. They look like the more equipped team going into this playoff run. And so you got to give them a lot of credit. Very impressive win for the OKC Thunder.
And by the way, This is what we talked about, kind of that hole in this Thunder team, if there was one. It's the size, right? They go and get a Biyombo, but playing Chet at the 5, he's going to get banged up. He's going to have nights where he's going against just a physical brute like Nurkic, and he's going to have his way with him on the glass, which he did last night. 31 rebounds is shocking. Like that's crazy. But that is the weakness, I think, for they're a little thin up front. Outside of, they can go small with Gordon Hayward, and I've seen Lou Dort and Jalen Williams at the 4, but they don't have that physical Andre Drummond type guy to go and bang with a Nurkic in these situations. So they're talented, they're more skilled, they're more youthful than these teams, but that would be the kind of weakness if you look at this team, that they're going to get killed on the glass some nights, but I think their talent will still overcome that.
It makes me a little nervous that they're in that top spot because it feels very fun right now. And I'm sure the fans are having a blast, but it almost feels like this young squad is being set up for something crazy come playoffs. Chandler, is that wrong? Or are we buying them yet?
This could be the first round matchup for them. And if the Suns are healthy, this could be a real damper on a great season for them if they get, beat in the first round to the Suns. And think about it. The Suns, the Mavericks, the Warriors, the Lakers. If they stay in that 1 seed, it's going to be one of those teams. And none of those, it's not going to be a sweep. It's going to be a competitive series. It's going to be a tough series. And all of those teams have size. They have physical, they're physical teams. So all of those teams are going to present some sort of challenge. Now, they also present crazy challenges to them with the way they can shoot the ball, the way they can score the ball, their quickness with their guards in transition. They have a lot of things on their side as well. But yeah, this team could be a mismatch problem for a lot of these situations that they're going to get in the playoffs, just because the West is so stacked. The days of like a 1 seed versus an 8 seed just being like an automatic sweep, that's not happening this year in the Western Conference. They are all going to be competitive series.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm excited, Lou. Okay, can we talk about Nurkic for 1 second? Because we've mentioned the 31 rebounds. He still wasn't happy, though, after this one, because he said he had 13 offensive rebounds and 16 shots and 0 free throws. So if you hear that, Lou, do you think to yourself, all right, he might have an actual point here?
He may have a point. But a lot of those offensive rebounds were getting kicked out, and some were finishes around the rim. And right there, like, it's not much contact. No fouls here. So again, those are offensive rebounds. He's working, but I don't see a lot of fouls. Yeah, he's banging.
Seems good. Yeah.
Yeah, seems good to me. He's banging. He makes a point. There can be some contact, but clearly we're looking at these clips. You don't see a lot of fouls being called. It looked like he's initiating a lot of the contact. That's how you get yourself to a 30 rebound game. I don't see what the beef was here. He could make a point if you didn't look at the clips, but obviously the clips tell a different story. So I don't know here.
Yeah,
I know, right? Just by the words.
That's what I was going to say. Nurkic is a guy that he kind of brings the fight to you, right? He starts the physicality.
He's a lot of that.
And then he tries to sell it. So I don't agree with him on this point. Also, like Nurkic, you took 16 shots. How many more shots do you want? Now, if it's about the fouls and then not getting the whistle, that's another thing. But like we said, he's the one that's initiating. He's the one that's grabbing, holding. He's the one kind of tying up. A lot of those shots that he even tried to put back up, they're shooters. That's the best 3 you can get off an offensive rebound. So he honestly, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, he shouldn't even have shot it. He should have just kicked it out to the Brad Beals to wide open for a 3. So I think as a big guy that bangs and hits the offensive glass as hard as he does, it's hard to complain about not getting the whistle when you're the one initiating the contact.
This Suns team, by the way, they're snake bitten as far as I'm concerned, because somehow, some way, one of the big 3 is missing in a lot of games this season. Of course, this time was Booker. I don't know, Lou. It's an easy question: is how important is it for them to all play together? But is it vital? Are they good enough and veteran enough that, let's say that this is sort of how the season plays out, that they would be okay come playoffs?
No, it's gonna be vital, because this is a team that, very much like the Clippers, for them to be successful, they're gonna have to be whole. Everybody that they had on their roster needs to be accounted for and needs to be part of what they need in order for them to be successful going into this postseason. And we're yet to see this team complete. We're yet to see that chemistry. They hadn't went on one of those runs yet where they strike fear in some teams where you say, wow, this is a team we really got to deal with. Like they just lost last night to the OKC Thunder. There are teams that are playing better than them that has more chemistry than them, and we just hadn't seen it from this Phoenix Suns team yet. And so that's slightly concerning for me, but they're veteran enough where I feel like they can turn it on. Usually a team doesn't have one of those switches where you can just start playing really well, start getting your chemistry and getting everybody on the same page. But they got enough talent to do it. And so I'm not counting this team out, but there are teams that are playing better basketball together than they are. So we really need to start seeing these guys on the floor together as the big three, as their unit, as they start to build out and try to get all the pieces around them together as well, from the bench players to the role players, everybody that's going to play a role in them trying to win a championship. But we've yet to see it.
Gotta be frustrating, Chandler, to each night sort of have to deal with something.
Yeah, it's tough, and this team is built to win now. And those three guys, that's where all the hype, all the expectations come from those three. So if anything, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel because they are treading water. They are hanging in there without being fully healthy, and they did just make moves like getting a Royce O'Neal, and Eric Gordon's been solid. I think they should free Bol. I think they should get him more minutes because when he plays, he's effective, and he's talented. He presents numerous challenges for the defense. But yeah, this team is going to go. They're going to live and die by this big three, and unfortunately, they haven't been on the floor together. It reminds me of that Brooklyn big three a little bit, where they just haven't got the reps. And all the expectations of winning a championship come with those three. So hopefully we see it. Hopefully they get healthy soon, and at least in the postseason, because this team fully loaded is a monster.
The strategy in this one it's very similar to what we saw in that Celtics game, but this time, as you guys mentioned, Josh Giddey was not respected. He did make 2 of 4 from 3. He had 10 points. I guess you could make the argument, Chandler, that this is better. This strategy worked out much better.
Well, yeah, this isn't Jaylen Brown. These guys shooting 32% from the three. So I think when you're playing against a team like this, and you have a Jalen Williams, you have an SGA, you have a Chet that are so good offensively, this guy's kind of the weakness. It's like playing off Draymond Green, but it's a give and take. This guy's such a good passer. When you give him space to operate, he's tall and he can see the floor. That also makes his job easier. I remember guarding Rondo back in the day. He couldn't necessarily shoot effectively from the field, but it hurts you more playing off him sometimes, because then you just give him the freedom of dropping dimes and seeing the entire floor. Sometimes it's better to pressure the guys that can't shoot, just to kind of be physical with him and force them away from the basket. This worked out sometimes. He made a couple last night. I don't really like the strategy against anybody, because you're giving them too many options. And this guy, he's a point guard. He can pass the rock. He's a smart player. So it's going to work sometimes. I think on a closeout, on a swing, if he has the ball, you kind of stunt and fake at him and let him take the shot. But just to violently play off anybody in the NBA, they're going to make some.
Listen, looks so bad.
At the end of the day, Chandler, I think both of these teams screwed it up. Both teams lost. Giddey shot 50 from the field, won the game, and like you mentioned, very much like Rondo, you opened up passing lanes for him to attack your rim and get kickouts, and it worked for him. I think both of these teams got it tragically wrong last night. Even though Giddey's is not as crazy as Jaylen Brown's, it still worked in the favor of the OKC Thunder. So I disagree with this game plan as well.
It would piss me off and hurt my feelings all at once. It's a crazy thing to see in video form, but here we are.
I think it is more of a shock and almost like an embarrassment when you see your defender in the paint. It's almost like, God damn, this is what you think of me?
Exactly. That's hurtful. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, that man has a family.
Run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
Oh, that man does have a family. And first up, Julian Champagny on the receiving end.
I've never seen somebody get dunked on so slow.
I know, it's weird. By the way, no words about the Spurs' big wins this weekend. 2 in a row, guys. 2 in a row.
Stay hot, San Antonio.
I know. If only there were a little more time left. This almost feels like deja vu. A lot.
Oh, come on, Brian. Hey, these young kids are starting to collect posters, man.
I mean, Jordan Poole should know.
This always blows my mind.
I'm still putting this one in my house.
Oof.
This always blows my mind. When you see LeBron, you know he's coming. This should be on the scouting report by now. You know he's coming. You gotta come back to the other side.
I would just stop. Be like, all right, well, that's not gonna work. How about this moment?
This was
Get out.
this was crazy. This was gonna be the play that just keeps playing over and over when he wins Rookie of the Year, but it was because of this play.
fair,
It was because of this play.
To be fair, he did have him stumbling, so they even on this one to me. They 1-1 on this one because he was stumbling first.
Oof.
It's pretty awesome.
That is father versus son.
Drew Banks.
Oh,
What?
okay. This is a rare one.
Did not know
Take
that
a
was gonna
pu-
happen.
He'd take a punch and we'll dunk on you.
Who knew? All right. It's not a tiny person either. Jabari Smith Jr. All right, Kuzma.
All right.
Oh my dear.
That was quite powerful.
That was angry.
Fast. Yeah, there's some emotion in this one.
Arf.
I like that one. All right.
That's nasty.
Poor
They
Wash.
didn't get the and one either.
On Porzingis. That looked like slow-mo too. When you play that one against the one before it, it's two different times.
Yeah, I like the aggressive ones like Kuzma. This is too slow.
This kid look like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What's going on?
Yeah.
Wow. That's I don't know if that's good or bad.
Another
GG
thing.
Jackson. Gotta love it.
Gigi Jackson is. We've been talking about the old Gigi here for quite some time now.
Dude, we started the
Shabani
season.
show.
We didn't know who he was. Now, very familiar with his game.
It just says on 2 Trailblazers because we don't know
On 2.
either of the names.
Yay! He can do it all. Yes, he can.
Gosh, that's crazy.
I almost had a really big parlay, a Victor Wembanyama parlay last night, but I screwed it up. I won't even tell you guys how. It's only embarrassing to myself. But I'll watch that again. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, wrap things up here on Run It Back. So way back on Saturday, if you guys weren't watching, we have a Bradley Beal moment. He was ultimately ejected in this game in the third quarter, and it was his big return after missing the 5 games with the hammy. But he and Jalen Green get into a little bit, a brief scuffle before they're separated. This is sort of part of all of that before Beal gets the 2 techs and is kicked out. It's very similar, obviously, to what you're seeing on the left. Although I'll say this, Beal makes like actual contact with his head. What's going on here? Lou, what's going on here? Why?
Jalen Green is a better man than a lot of men I know.
Right?
Because
Like
This is
That's
disrespectful.
now
it is, because
Brad
Barnes
tripping.
at least is close. Like you're not touching Kobe's face.
The minute that ball hit my chin, I'm here with it. I'm
Mhm.
here with it. That's at least 10 games right
Yep.
there, right, Chandler?
Karate. I'm
Yeah,
doing
this
all
is
that.
bad.
That'll do it for us today. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.